Hello, everyone. I'm Rebecca Lombardo, host of VendorVibes and fractional CMO. Today, I'm here with Chris from Brittain Resorts. Hello, Chris.
Hey, good morning.
Awesome. So, thank you so much for joining me. We are going to learn a little bit from you today, so I'm looking forward to this. If you could please tell us about you and your company, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. A little bit about myself. So, I started in the industry a little over 20 years ago. I was in college pretending to be that I wanted to be a lawyer. Um, Turns out you need a lot of school for that, and I didn't like that. So, somehow living in Myrtle Beach, I got lost in the hospitality world. Started off as a bellman at a oceanfront resort here. Worked several positions at that property, mostly in the front office. I dabbled a little bit in housekeeping and a little bit in not so much maintenance, but working with the engineering department. But really kind of learned the entire property. From there, I moved to a another company in the portfolio, managing the front desk, and somehow caught one of the luckiest breaks in my career, and somehow finagled my way into a general manager position before the age of 25. Didn't work well. I didn't know what I was doing. The hotel struggled a little bit. And that was right around the time of 2008, 2009 when the financial crisis hit. So, filed for bankruptcy. May or may not have been my fault entirely. But from there, the industry was struggling. And kind of an interesting side story. My mid 20s became a truck driver of 18 wheelers. Um, did that for about a year. It was kind of one of those things that no one was really hiring in the industry. Um, didn't have any real responsibilities. I was in my mid 20s, no kids, no relationship, and did that for about a year. Got to see the country. That was never a long-term goal. So once the hotel industry started picking back up, I got back into it, went back to a property. And that's where I really started getting my first taste of revenue management. I was the AGM of a property, and part of my responsibilities was revenue management. From there, I used that position. I leveraged that position to get a revenue management position at a management ownership group out of Greenville, South Carolina. And that was my first true 100% revenue management strategy position where that was my primary focus. Went from working at purely leisure independent properties to branded hotels, Hilton, Marriott, Accor, just every major brand out there. And it was a completely different experience. Something that I wasn't prepared for, but learned quick enough. Right? You go from Friday and Saturday being your peak nights to all of a sudden Tuesday and Wednesday are peak nights. And that was just a kind of a hard concept to grasp for at that stage of my career. Enjoyed it, learned a lot, moved from there to it's not a small company anymore, but at the time it was a growing company in Charleston, South Carolina, where they really specialized in a lot of boutique independent properties, particularly in downtown areas. So I got a little bit of a taste back in the independent side. With that company, I ended up taking the position as a general manager of one of their oceanfront properties. They got back into operations for a short while. And then one of my contacts, one of my former colleagues that I worked with at the previous company had moved to Choice, and they were launching the revenue management program. So I got brought into Choice to help with the kind of the foundation of the revenue management program. I think I was the sixth or seventh person hired in that department. At their biggest, they were 70 or 80. So a lot of growth in a short amount of time. I was put on a team that got to travel to India to train a group of revenue managers over there. That was a interesting and fun, kind of a once in a lifetime experience. Got to see the Taj Mahal and a lot of other things that India has to offer. Really enjoyed it. And then around in 2018, a former colleague of mine here at Brittain. So the first company I worked with, the first property I worked at was a Brittain property. Made a lot of contacts and colleagues that I stayed in close contact with. And then almost 20 years later, one of my colleagues and close friend reached out, and he had just been appointed over the revenue management department. and wanted to learn about a little bit about revenue management. Brought me in in a consulting capacity, which turned into a full-time job, and started off as director of revenue management here. And just recently, well, I guess it's been a little over a year now, promoted to vice president. So fun career.
Yeah, that's an amazing journey.
And somewhere in that time, so like I said, I was in school, wanted to be a lawyer, didn't pan out the first time, but then somehow convinced myself in my 30s that now's a good time to go back to school. So in that time, I also finished my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. So fun times. It was a adventurous 20 years.
Wow, I'll say, I mean, that's a lot of experience and from all angles, it seems as well. So this question will be, really interesting because now that you've had these, varied viewpoints, how do you choose your vendors? I mean, you've come at this from like every angle at this point, it seems almost, right? So I'm very interested to hear like, what kind of goes through your brain as you look at these choices.
Yeah, for me, I everyone's different, but I don't enjoy being solicited by a vendor, right? And we all get emails throughout the day of try my product, try my product, try my product. And while I'm saying this, it is, you do have to be careful to not be completely dismissive of those. I think it's easy to read the first sentence of one of those emails and then just put it in the trash or move it to a different box. And like I said, just completely dismiss it. I do think it's worth spending 2 to 3 minutes to at least read the email and see the company. Yeah, I kind of have this belief that if a company is good enough and doing a good job, you already know who they are, and you're going to seek them out. You shouldn't rely on an email, but that's not always true, right? Some of us, we have found success in just the cold call emails, particularly with some of the AI software. There's a ton of AI software out there, and I think it's very, very easy, or a ton of AI companies out there, and I think it's very easy to be dismissive of every email you get says new AI product. It's very easy just to move on from those, but I do think it's worth taking a minute or two to at least read the email and see, research the product a little bit, because there's just too many companies out there for you to be familiar with every single one, right? There are companies out there that do a good job that we've never heard of. But I think for me, choosing the right product, right, choosing the right vendors, as far as the process, I think it's a little bit different from each one, right? So the approach isn't always going to be the same. For me, the first step is kind of determining who needs to be involved, right, on your team, from operations, IT, mark, whoever it is, whatever department. I think getting those key people selected, understanding what the problem is, that's most important. And if you can get the right people set up from the beginning, that's going to make the entire process much easier. The second is discovery, right? Being upfront and honest about what are you looking for and what does the vendor have to offer. The process was, developed a lot by trial and error, and it's going to be different, right? It's not every pitch, not every vendor is going to be treated the same. It's really going to be dictated by the scope of the project, and is it this one person decision, or do I need approval from different levels? Again, that's just always kind of worked well for me. I think the most important thing in choosing it for the part of the process, and the step one of the process of, once you've identified the problem, right? To me, I don't think that's part of the process. That's what starts the process, right? It's okay, we've identified the problem. What's the process of finding the solution? Finding the right people to demo or view the product. That's step one for me, followed by discovery, right? What are we trying to solve for? What does this product have to offer? And it's more than just doing the high level sales pitch, right? You got to see the product in its full scope.
So are there multiple layers of approval that you would need to go through once the right people have kind of done the demo and vetted the product and company?
Yeah, it's kind of building off of what I just said, right? It's going to vary by product, and it depends on the scope. Changing a PMS is going to be a lot more involved than changing the cleaning supply company for one hotel. I think the biggest challenge is determining the right level of people for each product, right? Can a GM make a decision on we're switching cleaning companies or we're switching who provides our chemicals? I think so. Can me, myself, as a VP of revenue, be the sole decider on making changes on PMS, on our PMS? I shouldn't be, right? I can come with strong opinions and facilitate the meetings and provide direction, but by no means should that be a one person stop. Maybe that's the challenge, determining what level of participation you need by product, because it's not going to be a one size fits all. It's going to vary by product. It's going to vary by scope. It's going to vary software or contract. It's just, maybe that's it, right? Knowing when to make that decision or who needs to make that decision is kind of part of the process.
No, I think that's a really good point, and I hope everybody is listening and hears what we just talked about, because I hear a lot of frustration from people where decisions are getting made and the right people are not at the table to help make those decisions. So thinking about who needs to be involved and at what level, I love hearing that. So thank you for sharing that. If you could share also kind of like what selections worked out well for you and how did you find them? Was it an email?
So, as far as finding, so looking back at a lot of my process, more often than not, it took me doing a little bit of research, and I think that's okay, right? It's Google's always our friend, right? It's type in top RMS, top PMS, top whatever, top cleaning companies in my area. That's always effective, right? Just seeing what's out there. The positive there is you're going to be given multiple options, right? Not one is going to pop up. Several are. And that allows you to do a little vetting on the company itself before reaching out to the company. And so you have a little bit of knowledge on the company, but also working with colleagues in the industry, right? It's looking for colleagues outside of your company and who are you working with? What is your experience with this? And I think when speaking to people that are using the product, my biggest question is always, how's the support? How's the customer service? Yeah, great, product's amazing, but whenever there's downtime, what's the solution, right? How quick are they in getting this resolved? And I say software and solutions, but that's for everything, right? It's when we're running low on cleaning supplies, when our linens are when our washing machine or dryer goes down, what's the service of that product? And you're going to get I think, a more clear and decisive answer by people that are using the product or have used the product. And oftentimes it's, why aren't you using the product anymore? Or why did you move away from product X to product Y? But in speaking with colleagues, to me, one of the best questions you can ask is, how's the service? How's the support? How quick are they in getting it? To me, that's almost more important than what's the downtime. Yeah, and I'm dramatizing a little bit, but I think I could be more comfortable using a product that has 80% uptime with excellent support system and excellent customer service compared to a product that's up 90-95% of the time that just has terrible support. And again, dramatizing a little bit, and 80% uptime is probably not acceptable in most cases, but if you give me a company that's going to offer great support, I think you can work around some of their shortcomings just in their support, just in how they offer you support.
Yeah, there's always a pros and cons list with every with every service provider and software provider. So absolutely. Can you think about an example that that did work out well versus one that didn't work out well? And maybe did you change your process between the two, or do you think it was like it just didn't work out?
So one of my first big takes on, so when I came back in 2019, my two big initiatives were to find a rate shopping tool followed by an RMS. So at the time, we weren't doing two things. We didn't have an effective way of doing rate shopping. We had a team of revenue managers that our rate shopping process was each manager would identify 3 or 4 hotels We'd identify a select set of dates that we needed to see what the market was doing. And they would spend half their morning shopping these hotels, putting everything in a spreadsheet. And it took them doing this one time to say, this is incredibly inefficient. There are tools out there that can do this. So we worked with two different companies where we vetted two different companies, and I'd worked with both of them in the past, and company A was the one that, because they provided the raw data, and that's really what I really wanted, was just the raw data. Because I wanted to be able to attach that to some of our existing reports. During the process, he picked the sales rep picked the wrong hotel, similar name in a completely different market, and which ultimately led them to losing the opportunity. So it's, I mean, maybe that's not the best example, but in that situation, picking the right property that we're working with, I think was detrimental to getting the product right. And it just makes you concerned a little bit that if they can miss something that small, what else are they going to miss? So the sales pitch has to go well. It doesn't have to go perfect, right? There's going to be some pains and things you have to learn with the product, but at the very least, they got to get your property right. This product that we actually ended up going with, it was way more bells and whistles. It was more pricey, but they got it right. Yeah, when we first started working with them, they didn't connect to our CRS. They didn't connect to our booking engine. That was a challenge for us. Company A did. That was a huge win in their favor. But they committed, say, we will get it done, right? If your booking engine is willing to work with us, we are 100% willing to work with them. And it took a little bit of time, but we signed based on, we predicated on them getting it done, and they did. So I think that's a big part of it too, right? It's just because they don't have something today and it doesn't match your 100% need. Yeah, working with them and getting some assurances, and even if it's in writing that we will develop this, we will work on developing this. If you can get a commitment on your other piece of technology to get this done, we are committed to making this work for you.
That's a really interesting perspective, because I think most people would consider that too high of a risk or a gamble and would go with something that was a little bit more like known. So I think that's a very interesting experience.
And the other thing too, I'll say a little bit backing up, is when it comes to approval, making, I said this earlier, but kind of the follow-up of what selections worked well. The sections that worked well are the ones that we got the right level of approval, right? Not getting over approval or under approval. More participants isn't always better. It's, I think, more about finding the right people for the pitch or the demo is more important than having someone from every department just to kind of check a box. You do have to be careful, right? If you don't involve enough people, others may feel left out and that you're kind of cramming this new product down their throat, and that's going to make buying a challenge. So it's a balance, right? It's smaller groups with the right people versus larger group for more buy-in. It's bringing in the right people and sometimes bringing them in at the right time, right? Hey, the three of us, the five of us have demoed this product. We absolutely love it. We want to share it with the rest of the team and get some high-level feedback and just what you think. And so that allows the decision to be made at a smaller core group of key people, but you're also involving the larger group. So they are part of the process, and it's just going to make buy-in later that much easier.
Awesome. Well, are there any other lessons learned that you'd like to share with us?
So one of the questions I think too was what didn't work, right? What was some of the flaws in the process? And I've made this mistake several times, right? It's oversharing your pain points. And what I've found, not every time, but it can almost backfire to where a sales rep can get so fixated on the pain point, and that's nearly all they want to talk about. I think it's also important to share what you like about your current vendor, right? Otherwise, you might miss the limitations of the new product. Features that aren't as strong as what you currently have because you focus so heavily on we like the system or we don't like the system is X, Y, and Z. The system has 70% of what we like, but 30% of where we have challenges with. And the entire sales pitch and demo focus so heavily on that 30% that you don't realize that the 70% that they also have to offer is much more limited to what you're currently using. So the other thing too is I think understanding what a system is. Don't try and make a PMS more than a PMS. Don't try and make a CRS more than a CRS. Don't try and make an RMS more than an RMS, right? Let each function, each system, everything be what is intended to be, right? Don't try to use a tabletop cleaner for laundry, right? It goes that way too. It's use the system the way the system's intended. If there are enhancement requests, there are enhancement requests. Fill those properly, right? But don't try, because this worked in one system this way, understand that that's not going to work on every system. Use the system the way it's intended. Don't get too caught up on your pain points. Make sure you're sharing what you like well, or what works well, and what you're kind of looking for if you do make the switch.
Wow, that in a nutshell was perfect. Thank you so much. That was like, I feel like we just summarized like 8 or 9 other interviews into like one little nugget there. That was perfect.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. This has been so valuable. I really appreciate it.
The last thing I'll say, and this has always worked well for me, is it's just kind of in closing, is just be honest, right? Be direct about what you're looking for. So and really what you're not looking for, and be upfront about how you feel about your current provider. Several times I've told companies, hey, we're currently working with this company. We're pretty happy with them, but we're in a contract year. We just want to explore options. We have every intention of staying with this company unless something comes along that just completely blows our mind, right? It just completely blows us away. I mean, it really sets the tone for an efficient and I think transparent conversation. They know what to expect. You know what to expect. Listen, we're not necessarily looking to change. We're happy with our provider. Contract's up at the end of next year or into this year. We just want to see. Here are a few of our pain points. This is what we really like about the system. If everything goes well and they can continue to work on our pain points, we plan on re-signing with them. However, we're just being responsible and seeing what's out there. And I think that takes a little bit of pressure off the sales agent to not oversell the product and say, okay, I hear you. It's theirs to lose. Let me see if I can make them lose.
That's a really good idea. And I know a lot of listeners will be very happy to hear that.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Chris. This has been like invaluable information. Thank you.
Great. Happy to do it.
Thanks everyone for listening. Cheers.
See you guys.